Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the OBR streaming network presented by OBR.com. This is Pete and Joe looking forward to the Bills game. My name is Joe Mazzullo, and my man with me here is Pete Smith. Pete, how are you doing today, my good sir?
I'm better than the dog, I suppose.
Yeah, he's okay. He's home. He's all right. For those of you who don't know, which is literally everybody but Pete, I had quite an afternoon. I was at the vet for about 5 hours with my golden retriever puppy who likes to eat literally anything he can find. And this one tagged me pretty good, about $1,500, Pete. We're a little lighter than we want to be today, but that's okay. That is A-okay. I got some adorable puppy kisses, so we're all good in the hood over here.
It would have been better just to let him eat the cash.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have that option. I got the call that he was on his way to the vet, so I just had to swoop in for the for the credit card. That's all. I had to do my job. Anywho, Pete, we had quite a weekend. We had our first preseason game of the year where a very, very good amount of starters played. A lot of starters did not. And the starters that did play didn't play for very long outside of quarterback, right? What are some early takeaways that you had from this game? I mean, and we'll get a little more in depth with it, but just right off rip, what are you thinking?
They have skill players. They have real weapons. That's the big takeaway for me, is that they have guys who can make plays. They have guys who look the part. Casey Concepcion looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Dylan Sampson looked good. Quinshon Judkins didn't get to do much, but he's been certainly a player. Denzel Boston, Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah Bond, the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And they are carrying the quarterbacks right now. Whatever success you're seeing is them. They are basically making it very, very easy for whoever's in there. So it's good that they have weapons. And, as we've talked about, the whole thing is if the quarterback is not here, it's not. That you set up a successful ecosystem for whoever's going to be that guy. The other thing that jumped out off rip is, coming out of Utah, everybody looked at Spencer Fano and said, I don't know about him in pass protection. And I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Double tights, constantly, tight splits. There was a lot of protection. And right now, he is better in pass protection than he is in run blocking. In fact, he's got to get better at the run blocking stuff because that's where he's going to be a big weapon. Yeah. But he was outstanding in pass protection. I don't know if people saw Brian Baldinger's breakdowns. By the way, I ran into him one at camp, and I said I'm a fan of his breakdowns, and I said it sounds like you're always standing up when you do this. He's like, most of the time I am.
He's a big dude too.
Yeah, I mean he's former offensive lineman. Yeah, he's a big man. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of doom and gloom around this team, and I would say I get why people are sort of down on this, but the stuff they need to get right, the stuff we were sitting there going, man, they got to do this in the draft and some of this other stuff.
Yeah, those
guys look really, really good.
Yep.
There's certainly some other questions we have, but that part looks great.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on AutoWorks Motorsports here. I'm right there with you, homie. Prove me flatly wrong. He seems very physical. He's very tough. I'm impressed with what I saw from Spencer Fano. I really am. The whole progression through camp, it really seems he's, hitting a stride here. And I got to tell you, Pete, I hadn't even considered him because I thought left tackle was more important and he was a right tackle, yada, yada, yada. So I didn't even open my mind to him until you pointed out, A, he had the skill set for it. B, he played it as a freshman. C, you would have no problem with him going over there. And I mean, I'll give you your credit. You called it from the jump. He's been a really, really pleasant surprise.
I continue to believe that half the bet, obviously he's a freaky athlete. They took the most athletic lineman, arguably the most athletic football player in the draft, and put him at left tackle. But I would argue that so much of Fano is how he is. He is just such a positive guy
Yeah.
At a position And we saw this, and I'm not sitting there to degrade Jedrick Wills. I think Jedrick Wills was entirely human in that between injuries and just getting beat on, it takes a toll mentally and all psychologically and all this stuff. And to this point, Spencer Fano is just happy to be wherever he is every single day, whether it's talking to whoever, if it's out there in the field working against Jared Verse, who's pounding on him, all this other stuff. And he's so happy to be there. And I think that just makes a huge difference for his likelihood of success. I would say the same thing for Casey Concepcion, who, not surprisingly, was real eager beaver to get up there in front of the podium on Monday.
Yep.
After he had a great game, was all smiles about that. So yeah, like as I said before the draft, if you were just telling me based on everything I heard and read and all this other stuff about like the two best, easiest people to root for in this draft class, it was Spencer Fano and Casey Concepcion. They got both of them, and they both look tremendous. Yeah,
no, agreed. And we'll dig into the wide receivers in a minute, because I definitely want to talk about KC. And Denzel Boston only had the one catch, but he showed you everything you want to see. He was quick in and out of his breaks, nice hands. He got upfield, really like that. But let's talk about the quarterbacks, because obviously this is Cleveland. And it's what we do, and it's on everybody's mind and all that fancy stuff. So before you dive too deep into this, I would like to just give my piece on this whole thing. I expected worse from Deshaun. I expected much worse from Deshaun, and he certainly wasn't good, but I expected worse. I have a very low bar set for him, right? Shador and Gabriel, it is what it is. I have more of an issue with just who they're playing with in the second half versus trying to really figure out, are they bad? Are they held back by the offensive line? Are they held back by weapons? Whatever it is. My problem is that I feel like Deshaun is getting treated by the media and the fan base like you should treat a young player. Like we wanted to applaud Deshaun because he looks serviceable, right? But like a veteran quarterback who knows what the hell he's doing, that's Case Keenum. What did Case Keenum do when he came in, Pete? He's pretty damn efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like in terms of what a veteran quarterback should look like and what gets me out of a game.
That part is true. Yeah, that is absolutely true.
I mean, that's my only thing. Was Deshaun better? Yeah. Should he have been? Hell yeah. He should have been a hell of a lot better, in my opinion. I know it's been 2 years since he's played, or this, that, or the other. So it's like you got to start small. But I was taken aback by all the people that are like, oh, well, that seals that Deshaun won the job, or this, that, or the other. I think, in my opinion, I think the Browns want him to start because they don't care about him. The fact that they're going to play him in the third quarter of this next preseason game tells me everything I need to know about how they view Deshaun. Like, Deshaun should be in bubble wrap. Deshaun should be held out of any sort of contact until we get to the regular season. If he's going to be your starter, I don't think they believe that he's the best option. They want him to be, but he's not grabbing that job.
Well, let's start with what I saw. When his first read was open, Deshaun Watson was fine. Anything after that was bad. He didn't handle pressure well the times he got it. He dropped his eyes too much. He misplaced on the field. Left all kinds of yardage everywhere to be had. And most of his yardage was a screen pass, which is fine. But live, people were like, oh, man, he looks good. No, he looks exactly like he did in 2024.
Yep.
And
there was a preseason game against a second-team defense.
Yes. My takeaway is that Deshaun is ultimately leading this job, but the Browns desperately would love Shador to take the job. Desperately. Mm-hmm. Like they're begging him to come in and seize the job.
Pete, I think he's going to. I think they want to make sure that operationally they're functional offensively before they drop Shador in there. because I feel like if they start Shador and he struggles, things could go sideways real quick. But if they start with Deshaun on the road for 2 games, they figure out all the little kinks in the system as they get more comfortable, including the 5 new linemen and the young receiving core and backfield. I think that makes all the sense in the world to bring in Shador later and let Deshaun take those early lumps. I don't know if they're going to do that because Deshaun just has not taken hold of that job.
No, he hasn't. But the problem is that nobody else has done it either.
Yeah.
So I think Todd Monken could have said after that game, Deshaun's the starter. He didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Shador got Monday with the ones. He's going to get tomorrow with the ones. He's going to split reps Thursday in joint practices. And then he's going to get the start Saturday. Like they have laid out the red carpet for Shador to come in and make a big charge and take this job. So far, he hasn't done that in 2 days. I don't expect he's going to do that, but they are giving him every opportunity. To your point, I don't think look, I disagree with this. I do not think they want to put Deshaun out there ever. He's just unfortunately by default the best guy they have.
Yeah.
And they don't want to hand the job to a guy who hasn't earned it. And that has not happened yet. So that's where this thing is going. But I think they are part of the reason, Todd Monken saying it's only fair and all this other stuff. I think it is because he wants Shador to get every one of those reps, hoping that something's going to click into place and he can make that change. But even if he can't, he wants to keep repping because he knows eventually they got to make that switch, and that hopefully it's going to be sooner than later that Shador can finally take the job, because one of 2 things is going to happen. Either Deshaun is going to just be bad, or he's going to get hurt, or both. And when I watch him pass up 2 wide open receivers on one play where it's Denzel Boston on a stop route, wide open, doesn't throw it, looks the other side, Isaiah Bond on a stop route, wide open, doesn't throw it, has 2 checkdowns on hitches that are wide open, doesn't take either of them, and then
2-yard gain. And
then puts his head down, slams forward, gets a yard, and takes a stupid hit. Like, it ain't going to work, and eventually he's going to get himself killed. So I think the Browns are aware of this. I think they know exactly what they're in for with this, and they are hoping that Shador is going to seize this job. It's also why I think Dylan Gabriel was kept alive sort of longer than they probably would have liked, is because they were willing to let anyone sort of take it. Now, the one thing I will say, as far as what I've seen from Shador, still slow. He's still got to play faster. And weirdly, from Saturday until and including the last 2 practices, I have seen him sail a ball on the pick he threw. He sailed the ball Monday that should have been the Denzel Ward pick that he dropped, and he sailed the ball today.
It was another drop, right?
It was no, just over into nothing. But just
I must have seen the Denzel drop then.
Yeah, that was yesterday. He's had a sailed ball on 3 passes in the same sort of area of the field that are areas of the field where if you miss like that, they are turnovers.
Yeah.
So that is what I saw. And as far as Dylan goes, I was surprised he was as bad as he was. He's normally better than that in practice, but like, if that's what we're going to get in games, like, I can't help you. Like, that's awful.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I mean, obviously, it's 3 turnovers. Everybody was responsible for a turnover. I would have loved to have seen Deshaun push the ball down the field a little bit more, which I can understand if he's hesitant. It's been so long since he's been out there in live bullets, and also with the start to camp and the emphasis that the media and everybody's made on the interceptions, I could see him just wanting to, keep things tight, keep things easy, just, get in and out, whatever. But he's got to go downfield more, especially with the receiving core that we have. That's the one thing that if I'm looking at both of these guys, you take the blinders off, because obviously we have bias, right? But if you take the blinders off, you just look at both guys. I like what Shador's style of play does more so for the offense. I like him going downfield more. And that's my whole thing. Does he need – hell yeah, he's got to get better. If he does win the starting job, he is one of the probably 3 to 5, if not bottom 3, worst starters in the league. He just has to play and he has to get better. And we agree that there's enough of a skill set there that like there's something worth developing. He's just got a long way to go. He does, but that's the rub for the Browns is at what point do you put up with some of Shador's warts in terms of development, or do you think he can ultimately hold the offense back like we've not for nothing seen Deshaun do back in 2024?
Well, on the Deshaun piece, if Deshaun wants to work underneath consistently like he's doing, his time to throw can't be 3 seconds. Like it defeats the point. Like the ball's got to come out or whatever. So that's where that is. As far as Shador goes, I agree. I like his style better for what the Browns need. They need a distributor with the talent they have. My concern is I think the receivers will love Shador. I think running backs will hate him because unless he's good about making the right checks at the line, putting them in the right position and all this other stuff to like get them in the best position possible, he's going to send running backs into bad spots and they're going to get them drilled. That's where I sit there and go, I have a little bit of a pause because everything else I can sort of, or the offensive line, he could screw them too. But particularly the running backs is where I sit there and go, this is where I don't want to just throw him out there and say, give him the job because he could literally do some damage. Now, I don't want to overstate that too much and say he's going to get somebody killed, but like that's the fear that you aren't making the right checks at the line of scrimmage. You aren't doing what you need to do, put them in the right position, and that you send them into bad plays over and over again, and that kills them or just is ineffective overall and consistently puts you behind the sticks. So that is the biggest concern with him. And then just, again, as I mentioned before, he's just got to play faster. He's got to see it faster because when he does see it, it's pretty good. Obviously, he did a really nice job on the just throwing to space to Floria on that play. Pressure and all that stuff, like that stuff is good. He's better in the pocket than he has been. I saw him do some good stuff like the check down to Amani Marshall. He didn't bail out and freak out like he did last year, which is certainly a noticeable improvement. So there's stuff there, but he's just got to get quicker. And he's got to be able to do it on a consistent basis, and just give coaches reason to trust that he's going to consistently put them in the right position and get them going.
Yeah. One positive that I'll say for Shador is, he would kind of harp on it last year about how he didn't like going into like the game in the middle of the game, right? He didn't like going in cold. It's like the game plan wasn't for him. He wasn't super comfortable. That's why I forget what game it was. He got banged up, but he went back out there and he said he went back out there because he didn't want Dylan to get put in an unfair position or a compromised position or anything like that. And having said that, Shador clearly was more comfortable as a starter. So if he's gotten more comfortable now entering the game at halftime, a little whatever, I mean, I would at least assume that he's going to be even better as a starter where he's more comfortable and he's more confident. He gets the, I don't know. It's, you gotta listen to how he talks about it. It's just like kind of a mental preparation thing for him, But like last year, like that Rams game was the last time. Well, the Rams game and then the regular season, the Ravens game, those were maybe the two worst times we saw Shador all year, were those 2 days.
The Bengals game was pretty bad.
It was.
So, I mean, look, I think if the Browns go, assuming they have the joint practices and assuming both the Browns and the Bills do what they expect to do, which is that they're basically going to use the ones up in practice and not use them in the game. Everybody's got a question line that it's blocking for sure. But as I said before going into this last preseason game, you're going to have weapons. Like you're going to have dudes to get the ball no matter when you go into the game. So, I don't know if I don't expect we'll see like Concepcion in Boston, given how much they do with the ones at this point. But like if Bond is still out there, if you've got some of these other dudes that can go out and make plays, like he can do stuff with those players. So if he's 2s-on-2s, like I could still see him light it up. I thought he'd do better last week than he did.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's bump over to we'll talk the running game real quick. So The running game it's a work in progress. It was a struggle,
Mhm.
right? I mean, you take the top carry away from Judkins, Sampson, and Amani Marshall, and every single one of them was on a 1 yard per carry or worse average. It's it's the first preseason game. It is what it is, but we had our starting line. They had most of their backups on defense. It's definitely concerning.
I think the offensive line was okay at the first level. I wish they were better in terms of moving guys off the ball, but considering it's ones on twos. Second level is where they got killed. And Fano's got to get better at that. I saw some tight ends that got to get better at that. The right tackle has to be better at that, and I'll be curious to see who that is this week. And then combine that with they were going against an odd front, which is a little bit awkward given they've been playing endlessly against an even front, and on multiple times the Bears were sending corner blitzes. Regardless, they got to keep repping. They got to keep working. They got to get better at it, because if you are not able to maul people off the line of scrimmage, and to this point, I see no evidence that they're going to be able to do that. They've got to be really, really precise, be able to hit those second level blocks and take advantage of the athleticism they have, particularly with the left side, and open that up that way. And there were a number of plays where you sit there and you go, first level's okay. And then they aren't getting it done at the second level and immediately stopped. So that's the step. That's the next step. That's the where they got to keep improving. They got to keep working, and it's going to be tough to get this done as fast as everybody would like. I think I'm already seeing people frustrated with the lack of development for the offensive line. Today was combined with, I think today was the 6th padded practice, and plus the preseason game. That's it. I mean, yes, you are working on, line movement and all these other things when you're in shorts and angles and all that stuff, and they can still get better at that stuff. But in terms of going live and doing that stuff, they've had basically 7 days, and they'll get 8 Thursday and then 9 in the game. And that's obviously the ones probably aren't playing in that. So they just need to rep it. They need to keep getting better at it. They obviously have some issues to solve on the right side of the line.
Of course.
I'm pleasantly surprised with what I've seen from Zion Johnson to this point. I think, and I could end up being dead wrong on this, but I think they are reasonably, I think they are cautiously optimistic that the bet they made is going to pay off on him. But the same cannot be said on the other side, where they've got to get some answers quickly. And we're starting to see them, I don't want to say panic, but they are starting to move pieces around and basically bail out on certain plans
I heard they moved Barber into right guard in certain sets. They moved Leviston out to tackle a little bit as well. Is it just basically seeing everybody everywhere, just see where the best 5 are going to fit? Or do you think they're just actively doing everything they can to shore up that right guard spot?
Well, today, I mean, I didn't catch it live yesterday, but they apparently, when Tevin Jenkins had some issues with his back, they put Barber in at guard and Leviston back at tackle. And then Todd Monken came out today and said he thought Leviston was better at tackle than he'd ever been at guard, which was something I was very concerned about the whole time with this, because my issues that I've had with KT Leviston as a tackle were he would let guys inside of him or across his face, and he would have trouble with leverage. He's not overly tall, but he doesn't play with great leverage. He has trouble bending and meeting the moment down inside. And both of those issues get worse at guard. So I don't know that the experiment is necessarily over, but it certainly sounds like it. And today, KT Leviston was at second team left tackle with DeJuan Jones at right tackle, who was with the Wands at right tackle. And then Leviston ultimately went inside with a medical staff member limping. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I can say this: DeJuan Jones cannot play right tackle for this team. It cannot happen. I think I watched him win one play in the running game today, and that was because he could easily just let the guy run upfield and pass by as the back went inside of him.
Yeah.
But everything else, he was getting his ass kicked by Julian Aquara. Like it's bad. He cannot do it as a right tackle. So at this point, and let's play this out. Let's say KT Leviston is first fine. Hopefully he's fine. And they decide that KT Leviston is a tackle who might have some guard viability, but is also really a tackle. Then we're going to get into a world where probably it's either KT Leviston or it's DeJuan Jones making this football team. And right now, based on what I'm seeing, KT Leviston is going to make this team over DeJuan Jones. So that the downstream effect could be DeJuan Jones. It does not make this football team.
Yeah. Which, I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised by that, just for the fact that with his injury history and his inability to finish a season healthy yet, I mean, how much can you invest in him moving forward? You know?
Well, they reduced his contract figure in exchange for guaranteed money. So if they cut him, they're going to have to pay him, I think, like $1.2 million or whatever, something along those lines. Not the end of it. Part of the problem is his one knee is still not right. He's practicing, he's doing everything he can, but you can tell he doesn't have full mobility, and it's tough. But he's never been a good run blocker, and it's getting worse. So he is basically a left tackle only.
Yeah, and
I don't think that's necessarily realistic. Where Leviston theoretically can be at least a swing, and if the Browns subscribe to the same theory I do, which is, look, man, I hope the best for Deshaun or Shador or Dylan. But if I'm way more worried about creating running lanes for Quinshon Judkins than I am any of those guys. Yep. KT Leviston's going to do a hell of a lot more to help you on that front than Jones is, and that would be my tiebreaker. Now, maybe the Browns see it differently, but then the other part of that is KT does theoretically have some viability as a guard, even if he's not good at it. He could theoretically do it. And then the other piece of that is Barber.
Yeah,
I watched him play right guard. One, I think a lot of people are overly critical of him at tackle, but that's how it goes with preseason when you give up what would be a sack fumble. I thought he looked pretty okay at guard for a guy who's never been a guard. I mean, obviously he went from left tackle to right tackle. That was his own change. Yeah. I thought he looked pretty good at guard, and he was going against twos. He was moving those guys off the ball, and then he did get some reps against Mike Hall, and I thought did okay in that. Now, is that mean he's ready to start or anything like that? No, but it's at least interesting, and I think that is going to be a consideration moving forward. I won't be surprised if this continues to be a thing, and maybe we see some Barber at right guard, including in this next preseason game.
Okay. All right. Now, before, because I would love to dive more into what you think we're going to see at Buffalo and what you're looking to see at Buffalo, or I should say in Cleveland against Buffalo. Let's talk wide receivers real quick, and let's start with KC, right? Because I mean, I know Monday he said that he was pissed he didn't take it to the house. That punt return was fantastic. Mm-hmm. If the turf monster didn't get him, he definitely had potential to shake one of the. I think there were a couple guys ahead of him, but
yep.
Pete, I got to tell you, man, I did not expect the subtle power, his contact balance on that touchdown run. When he got hit and he went down, he put a hand on the ground. When he took another hit and didn't move a freaking centimeter, dude, I got fired up. That was a really cool play.
Well, for a guy who, has a stutter and all the other stuff he's dealing with, he's not backing down in any sense. He said he talked to the media. He said he takes pride in the fact he's never been tackled by a corner. That is his mentality. So
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. So look, man, people forget he was a running back or utilized as a running back at NC State.
NC State, yeah.
So yeah, and I've said this before, but if we go by combine and pro day measurements or whatever, Denzel Boston was like 6'3" 5/8", 212 pounds. And everybody goes, oh, Denzel Boston's a big receiver. Casey Concepcion is 5'11" and 5'8". He was 196 pounds, 4 inches, and 18 pounds. Like 16 pounds. He's a big, strong kid. Like he's a noticeably strong kid.
He's built for sure.
So like when like I'm happy that people are joining the Casey Concepcion bandwagon now, because I had all these people to you can't catch and all this other crap, and he's small. He is not. He is a very strong young man, as was Makai Lemon. They're big, thick dudes. So like when you can get him in space, he's a huge problem because he creates a dynamic where his body control is utterly insane, and then he has this strength that just puts these guys in hell trying to figure out how to deal with him. And so this is why, I know look, Denzel Boston has deservedly gotten all the praise in practice. He's crushing. He's been outstanding. And yet, because of the amount of ways you can use Casey Concepcion, it would not surprise me if Casey Concepcion has more production as a rookie just because of everything you can do with him. And there's weird analytics that data that goes back that talks about guys who are a certain level of production, a certain level of rushing production, and then a certain ability to return kicks and all this other stuff. That like the data is very compelling. One of them is Antonio Brown, just in terms of like those guys are really, really difficult to sort of fail because they just find so many ways to contribute, and we saw it right in the first preseason game.
Yeah,
couple jet actions out of the backfield. The punt return, got a catch. If Deshaun Watson didn't throw the ball into the damn ground, he would have caught another ball and had room to run. But he's going to be a guy that if they can get the ball in space, like, so why, people don't like the comparison, and there are certain physical characteristics that are different, but like in terms of like how they compare and how do you utilize him, he is eerily similar to Zay Flowers, and Todd Monken coached Zay Flowers, so he's going to use him in a lot of those ways. Now, maybe he expands on it, maybe there's some subtle differences, but he's going to use him in every way, and he's just a much, much bigger version of that.
Yeah. Any other receivers stand out to you, good or bad? I mean, our eyes were on the young guys, and there weren't a ton of opportunities to go around, but
yeah, I mean, Isaiah Bond obviously caught the one ball on the slant that was way behind him. And then, there's at least one play where if Deshaun throws him the ball, he's going to get at least a first down, if not potentially get the opportunity to run with it and maybe have a chance to make a play and score. I mean, the thing is the Browns have between him and Sampson and Casey and Jerry Jeudy, just an unbelievable amount of speed they can deploy on any given play. Denzel Boston certainly not slow, but him and Harold Fannin provide more of a size element that's more obvious than anything else. So they have a lot of just ways you can sort of cause problems for a defense.
Yeah, agreed. And that's the fun thing about the receiving core right now is that there's such a diverse set of skill sets in that group, in that room, and we've got, big guys, small guys, fast guys. In terms of depth, I don't remember the Browns having a receiving core that like the fourth and fifth, well, the fourth guy, at least, Isaiah Bond, I feel really good about. Like, I really like Isaiah Bond, and that's your fourth guy. That's pretty damn nice. That's a really, really sick turnaround in just 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is obviously that, we can sort of get through the end of the season, and then, we'll see what happens with Jerry Jeudy, but you can see a future where Casey, Boston, and Bond are your three guys, and you have Fannin. Like, that's a really, really good setup. But yeah. Tylan Wallace is still a good player, a valuable player in the ways he can contribute. And you still have guys like Cedric Tillman, though he's not played. And we'll see what happens with him. And then a guy like Malachi Corley, who, was the guy that Shedeur overshot. Mm-hmm. He had a ton of space. If that ball gets to him, he might have been a threat to score. So they've got a lot of dudes in that receiver room to the point where, we're talking about, well, the Browns need to find a way to get the 5'8", 180-pound kid on the roster. And I'm just looking at this going, it ain't going to happen And it's not because he's done bad. He's done everything you could possibly hope that kid could do. And he's not going to make this team because he doesn't play special teams. And you're not going to, and you can tell me all day about how, you want the mighty might on the field. And I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Who do you want to take off the field to put Luke Floria on it? Good luck.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that completely. It's just, it's like the joke I make about, the Hawkeye and the Avengers joke that I made with Dylan Gabriel. Yes. It's the same thing. Receiver's an even more freak show position athletically. You can't be undersized and slow. You can't. Not in the NFL.
And look, if he can get if he gets to the practice squad, you're thrilled. Yes. Because he could, if you had a rash of injuries, come in and play and do something. But the problem is you just cannot put him on special teams. And watch in the preseason game. See if you can find him on anything. He's not out there. There's nowhere to put him. He doesn't return. I mean, he can return kicks theoretically, but they've got other guys that they are more excited about doing because, obviously they have way more talent. He said he better can't. Obviously, he missed a lot of last year with injury, but he said he's been better than he was last year. He's done everything you could hope for, and it's still. This is the talent. You can sit there and look at other positions. I wish Luke Floria was whatever he is at wide receiver, at corner, and I could find a spot for him on this team. If there was a Luke Floria equivalent at offensive line, I could find a spot for him on this team. He just happens to be at the one position where they are absolutely loaded right now in terms of talent or guys they want to figure out and see.
Yeah, agreed with that. And that's the rub sometimes. Sometimes it's just a numbers game and you just don't fit. Going over to the other side of the ball. Again, I mean, we know it's preseason. We know everything's vanilla. We know neither side is really going to show anything. I thought the starting defense, I mean, for all the people that talk about the Bears scored 34 straight points, yada, yada, yada. I mean, the first team defense held them to 2 straight 3-and-outs. So it's tough for me to be furious about the defense. I know there wasn't a ton of pressure there, but there wasn't a ton of opportunities either, What's your general take from that first unit?
Well, I mean, there's two things. One, they did their job. They got off the field. And two, they're still missing a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Carson Schwarzenegger has not done anything. He's allegedly going to come back next week. Mike Hall just came back today. Mm-hmm. He was great.
Still no Malik.
Malik is, I think, based on what I'm looking at, may have taken the next step in his rehab, but I have no idea, how many more steps there are. And Kalia Davis still isn't out there. So you went into this game with Mason Graham and Aiden Huntington as your starting defensive tackles, and then Aiden Huntington was playing the rest of the game because he's part of the 2s and 3s, and Mason Graham looked good. You have Verse, you have Alex Wright, and they're basically done after a series. And then you had McGuire, who was really good, and then they got him out of the game real quick. So, and they really right now only have 3 ends, as far as I'm concerned, which is why they were hoping to sign Darius Smith, they were hoping to sign Jadeveon Clowney. We'll see where they go next.
Yeah.
Julian Acquire did fine. I still don't think he's a rosterable player, but that's just me. But again, if you want to make the case for him, watch him kick Dwan Jones' ass today all day. And you can sit there and talk yourself into him, but I don't see it with him. And then defensive tackle, it's Aiden Huntington and guys. And certainly you can point to Corday Sidnor, who had a couple nice plays, executed the stunt well with Huntington to get the sack, but anything that wasn't schemed up, they went nowhere.
Yeah.
So that is troubling. And then outside, Michael Coates was fantastic.
Yeah. He keeps flashing, man.
Yeah. I mean, unless he gets hurt or just something stupid, he's going to make the team. But even if I say that, I don't necessarily want him to be the next guy in.
Yeah, of course.
We did get Bryant back today, which is good. But no, but in the game, it was Michael Coates was making all these plays. Every other corner is basically not a real thing in terms of who they have on their roster because they're missing so many guys. D'Angelo Ross has been down. Miles Bryant has been down. They had some other guys down. They obviously lost they lost Amari
Mathis
for the year.
Injury, yeah.
So they are scrambling, and so how upset do you want me to get about basically third and fourth team corners getting torched, and a very depleted defensive line getting beat? I can sit there and talk about, well, I thought the safeties have really good depth, although it wasn't a great day for Chris Edmonds, who took some bad angles on the one play, just fell down. And the linebackers did well, but this is why I say that linebackers don't matter realistically. You can have great linebacker play, and it just doesn't do much. Now, Winston Reed did a hell of a job, had a great game, but when you have no D line and no corners, you're going to get beat. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, agreed with that. Any of the young guys on defense catch your eye in this game? I saw a bad clip of a lack of hustle out of Tyreek Sapp on just about every snap he was involved in, but I feel like those aren't always. It's like a disingenuous type thing. I don't know. I have a little bit of an issue with that, but anybody tickle your fancy? That's a young guy looking to make a play.
Well, I mentioned Coates. I mentioned Winston Reed. I thought they both did well. I thought Donovan McMillan did good in what I saw from him. I think E-Man is really talented. There's one bad angle I saw him take that sort of allowed him get sucked in on a run that broke. And then there are times where he looks like he just needs to get stronger, and that's not because I think he's weak. It's just because he's so damn tall. Yeah. That when guys can get into his body, they can get into his body and sort of shake him around. So I think that's just one. He's just got to keep getting reps and get experience. But I do hope he's able to put on a little bit of muscle to help combat some of that stuff, because the problem he runs into at times is tight ends will run routes, get into his body, and sort of be able to shake him off in that regard. So I love his instincts. I like the way he's reading the field and what he's doing. I'm hoping that, particularly as we head to week 2 of the preseason and that Saturday, that he's going to get a ton of run, and hopefully he's going to get an opportunity to make more plays, because he is really interesting as far as a player. I want to see Chris Edmonds do better, because I think their safety position is legitimately pretty good in terms of from top to bottom. I think they're good. All the back end guys are on special teams. That's going to be a big deal. And then, I'd like to see Justin Jefferson just get wiser. When he's right, you can see some really impressive play in terms of his speed, his closing speed, in terms of his ability to sometimes get his hands on the ball and stuff like that. He's had a number of pass breakups in practice doing that type of stuff, but it seemed like there are times in the game where he just gets lost in the sauce a little bit. He's not a huge guy. He can get overpowered, and that's going to be something he has to work through. Beyond that, I'd like to see Easton Arnold Mascarenas keep getting reps and keep moving forward. If Schwarzenegger's not going to be back for next week, I will be curious to see if maybe, obviously it's going to depend on how much work he does on Thursday. It wouldn't be terribly shocking to see him get a little work in the preseason, just because they want to get him as many reps as possible, but they may just decide this is enough for him, in which case we need to see, the Boogie Watsons of the world and stuff step up, because Boogie Watson's more of a specific role player that has to prove himself. And then, defensive line wise, Aiden Huntington got to keep it going, and hopefully we get to see a little bit more in terms of Logan Fano being able to do more and create more pressures. The one guy who was able to generate a little pressure, Benton Whitley, he's interesting. Unfortunately, he's 27, and today he hit shooter's arm, so he may be gone. Yeah. So they need pass rush. They need something, because right now, based on what I'm seeing, we're going to be blitzing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, they clearly know that they need pass rush help, right? They tried with AJ Epinesa earlier in the offseason. They tried with Clowney. They've now tried with Za'Darius. And it's real easy to, say that, agents are using them to get their guys to better places or whatever. I think it ultimately comes down to Atlanta was offering a starting job, basically, and starter money, or at least close enough to starter money. And then Houston, that's where Clowney lives right now. So it's like they're just choosing basically better jobs over with potential playoff teams over coming and being our fourth defensive end. So it's like I'm not like frustrated by it. I'm just curious as to when we're going to get somebody in here. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand Za'Darius not coming. I understand Clowney not coming. I'm not mad at the team about it. I get it. I get it completely.
Yeah, Za'Darius may be starting for the Falcons week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they're at.
Of it.
Like they lose James Pierce for 8 games to suspension. Jalen Walker's done for the year. Za'Darius Smith, he got $6 million contract worth up to $8 million. I don't assume the Browns are going to pay that much either.
They're paying him more than Cam Thomas.
Yeah, and he may be starting the other side. So that they are in a world of hurt, and that's where you sort of, because of that, they have to pay more to get him, and that's how it goes. And then Jadeveon Clowney, look, man, if you're asking me which team I'd pick Houston too. So we'll see as those guys come off the board, the opportunities change. Those, they're not going to get, somebody else isn't likely going to sign in Houston now. So hopefully, or Atlanta at this, maybe Atlanta, just given how bad it is, but opens up opportunities for the Browns to hopefully get somebody that's going to fit with what they want. And I'm with you. I wish that thing would get done now, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we start doing a little preview of the upcoming practice with Buffalo and everything like that, let's talk a little bit, because look, it is overreaction season, right? It happened last week with Carson Beck, right? Let's talk about Ty Simpson, man. My man came out shooting 21-25, 190, 2 touchdowns. Should we have taken him at 9, Pete?
As my understanding is, he did not throw a ball more than 10 yards until the fourth quarter.
Well, I didn't see all of it. I watched some highlights, and he looked like he did at Alabama. It was efficient. But like you said, it was 21 completions, only 190 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't stretching anything.
No, I mean, which is fine. I mean, ultimately, that's look. You'd certainly rather have that than what we saw. So
yes,
it's fine. I just think we get way ahead of ourselves in some of this. I mean, the people who are doing this get super excited to the point where if Chase Daniel trying to engagement farm by saying that everybody owes Dan Orlovsky an apology for ever doubting this man based on his first ever preseason game. Okay, well, I mean, there's any number of guys who have gone out and torched preseason. Kenny Pickett, 158.3 QB rating, and then couldn't play. So, I mean, good for the Rams in that he, didn't embarrass himself.
Well, Pete, look at the source, man. You know how much money Chase Daniels made from good preseasons?
Yes.
He built a fortune.
Yes. But I saw some, I think it was Schefter that tweeted out, is look at all these quarterbacks that had this great preseason, week 1, including Garrett Nussmeier and all this stuff. It's okay, well, let's see how it goes. Because so much of this in preseason is how deep do you have depth on the offensive line? And do you have dudes to get you the ball? Because if you do, you can be really, really good. So we'll see. I still think Ty Simpson was very, very rich where they took him. And no, I do not want him at 9. I am eagerly awaiting for the college season to begin as I'm waiting for this crap to go. I am very excited about those guys, but no, I'm very happy with Spencer Fender in case he gets up here. This is the thing. And then, the same thing for Jackson Dart. I really like Jackson Dart as a prospect, but every time he goes in there, and then he goes in the blue medical test, and then wonders as he's laying on the field looking like he's in bad shape. Why the independent guy would want to put him in the medical tent? How does this keep happening to me? Is crazy and just makes me terrified.
He got absolutely lit up on that blitz, man. I can imagine every Giant fan, A, holding their breath, and B, throwing their beer at the TV. Then your starting quarterback gets a breakaway DB blitz and just rocked.
Yeah, and the response was, well, we're going to sign the former Steelers running back Najee Harris immediately to try to fix this thing because
he'd be their pass protector. I respect that. Or at least he's going to come in and teach the young guys for a couple weeks. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So if by the way, they signed Najee Harris, who they basically said is not in football shape. We're going to have to get him in shape. So yeah, things are going great. But yeah, Jackson Dart, really talented. But he scares the crap out of me.
He came back. He threw a dime of a touchdown pass. I'll give him that.
He's phenomenally talented.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He's phenomenally talented. I just think he's going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, which, I mean, hey, knock on wood. That would be all sorts of a shame. All right, so let's talk about this Bills practice now, because for as much as they talk about, this quarterback competition and keeping it this, that, and the other with fair and reps and all this other stuff, I mean, the likelihood of starters playing on Saturday is pretty low, right? Especially like the consequential stat, like the starters that like we know are like rock solid, right? I'm sure they're going to play some starters here or there, but I'm assuming your Bostons, Concepcions, and Judys, and Fannons, and Judkins. I don't think those guys are going to play.
I don't think there's a chance in hell. I think Todd Monken basically admitted that he does want this joint practice. He wants to get to work, but he is a little bit nervous about the situation because of injuries.
Yeah.
And you watch what's happening around the NFL, and like today, the Chargers lost 3 guys in an hour to joint practices with injuries. Like Tyler Biadasz is done for the year. I don't know what happened to Quentin Johnson, or the linebacker that got hurt. Like, you get these guys so ramped up to go against another team that it's constantly guys are going harder, or there's fights and all this other stuff. And so you have to be a little bit nervous about that. But like, he wants to get that work. And then I don't see a chance in hell that he's going to put them out in the preseason that week for the same reason. If it wasn't enough they're worried about the work, they certainly don't want them to get exposed and be put in more jeopardy, to put more injuries.
So I've been hearing talk about this very thing that Jeffrey Champion's speaking of right now. He doesn't think he should play in the third quarter. I honestly, like, if I think Deshaun's going to be my starter, or I would like Deshaun to be my starter, there's no way he sees the field in this. Why? What are we going to learn about Deshaun Watson in the third quarter of this preseason game with guys he's not going to play with? Like, isn't that weird?
Yeah, but there's part of me that doesn't hate the idea of him going out there. But anyway,
of course, I get that.
But there is one piece that he has to figure out, and he can do that with whoever's in there. You got to stop dropping his eyes, man. He's got, like, if you want to make the most pro Deshaun argument ever and say this is the first time in 2 years he's been back out there and he wasn't used to it, and it's live, and he's a little bit worried about being hit, and then now he got to go back and see the tape, and he's looking at all these plays he missed, and now he's going to go out there and he's going to keep his eyes up. He's going to do the thing. Fine, like, that's the best argument. He's got to go out there and do it, though. If he starts dropping his eyes in that crap, they might as well just shoot him on the field at that point, because it's a complete waste of time and energy with him at any spot at quarterback. But ultimately, yes, I agree. And I also say this as somebody who's bitter that I'm probably not going to get to see Taylor Green until game 3.
Yeah, that's okay. Outside of the fact that he's your injury-prone veteran quarterback who you want to start, he should be in bubble wrap anyway. But take Dylan Gabriel out of it, even though you don't have to. We have 2 young players that we want to see more of. Like, I just don't get it. I think it's wasted reps. and it's a potential for him to get hurt over meaningless playing time. Like I just like I get it in the sense of like it's a competition and you want him to get reps, you want him to get comfortable. I cannot look at this situation. If he steps on the field in the third quarter of that game, I'd be like, oh, the Browns don't care. The Browns do not care. And which they might not, honestly. I mean, realistically, wouldn't it probably be the best thing if he did get some sort of nicked up, he gets slapped on IR, they probably get some insurance money, and then they get to keep Dylan Gabriel. Like,
I can't say that. I might think it, but I can't say that. But
yeah, I mean,
look, I will say that they should really get after it and run Reed and a lot of these other things and get the legs moving and see what he can do.
Yeah, they should.
No, nothing would make life easier. Like look, if he were to get seriously injured, it would open up a world of possibilities for them in terms of what they could do. And yes, they could keep Dylan Gabriel if they wanted to, but they could actually look. I don't think there's an answer to be found out there, and I'm not interested in trading for other teams' third string quarterbacks because guys are tired of looking at our quarterbacks.
Yeah,
but like you at least have a little bit of flexibility at that point. You are so limited in what you can do because of the current setup.
Yeah. Well, you can't do anything because of the current setup because Deshaun can't move. And Shador has the most, well, maybe not the most potential if you factor in what's the Arkansas kid, Taylor Green. I do
not see them cutting him. I don't see them doing it.
Who, cutting Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. I think the reason he hasn't seen the field is because they don't plan on cutting him and subjecting him to waivers. They don't want to reveal too much, maybe.
They're clearly prioritizing trying to figure this thing out at the top, and it's squeezing Taylor Green. Now, Taylor Green has a whole lot of stuff he needs to work on anyway, so it's like not the end of the world.
No, not at all.
It's
as a fan, we want to see him.
As a colossal bummer that I don't get to watch him do stuff because I think he would at some point literally do some sort of crazy read thing where he just takes off and runs for a touchdown because he's faster than everybody on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that'll be fun about that third preseason game. I hope he gets to play the whole second half, man. If not more.
Yeah, that's the other part. Todd Monken is sounding like he really wants to use that as a dress rehearsal. Yeah. Now, you know my stance on this. I hate it. I would give Taylor Green the whole game. But it sounds like he wants to do that, which if that's the case, obviously he's going to have named a starting quarterback. What does he consider a dress rehearsal? Is that a quarter? Is that longer? And maybe he does it that way where it's one quarter for each guy or something along those lines. I don't know, but I'm hoping Taylor Green doesn't get entirely squeezed out. He's genuinely interesting. I think as a long-term project, he's fascinating to see what can happen with him. But yeah, that already is my biggest disappointment preseason, not getting to see this guy just jump over people.
Yeah.
Leap the entire field in a single bound and score a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun. That is for sure. Any particular matchups coming up in these practices that you're fired up about? I think the one that everybody talks about is probably Deion Dawkins and Jared Verse. I think that'll be an absolute rumble because Dawkins is a rock star of a tackle. I think he's really good.
Not only that, but Jared Verse seems to think like Deion Dawkins is the best guy he's gone against. Like he talked him up quite a bit. So certainly that's going to be a big matchup. But the other side, Greg Rousseau via Spencer Fano is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
You got Bradley Chubb on the other side against whoever's lining up a right tackle, which is pretty terrifying. And then the other big test, I mean,
Ed Oliver inside.
Yeah, Ed Oliver inside. And then Deion Walker as a big nose tackle. Like those are all problematic elements that are they just don't stop. So line of scrimmage is huge. And then defensively overall, the combination of a big line, James Cook, and then Josh Allen and whatever he's going to do is obviously going to be really interesting to see how they can deal with it. Because look, I mean, you can say what you will about preseason games. Obviously, it's very vanilla. This will not be. They are going to obviously they're going to scheme out how they want to do stuff and that, but like they're gonna run, they're gonna plan for how they want to attack this and try to win essentially. So how they do that, what that looks like, we're gonna probably get a bigger look at what this defense is really going to look like, even if it's still missing guys. And that's going to be the big question. Who's going to be available? Are we going to see guys come back for this? Like Tyson Campbell did individuals, but didn't do team, hasn't done team in a while. Alex Wright did individuals today, didn't do team. We'll see what happened with McGuire, who left the field with medical staff.
I was going to say, I heard he walked off.
Didn't seem serious, seemed more precautionary than anything, but who knows? Regardless, who's going to be available for that? So are we going to get a true test? Probably not. Obviously, they're not going to have Schwarzenegger or some of these other guys, but like at the same time, since he's back and hopefully going to stay healthy, I want to see what Mason Graham and Mike Hall do on the inside, because look, you can sit there and you can point at the offensive line and say the Browns offensive line is a work in progress, all this other stuff. It is a different world when those two are in there at defensive tackle. Like they are killing people. And even when you have less than at end, like for example, at one point it was Jared Verse, Mike Hall, Mason Graham, and then Julian Okwara at left end. And they were still crushing it because those guys are so overpowering, and DeJuan Jones is at right tackle. So we'll see where that goes, but like that's a really fun matchup. This is a big test for them. This is sort of like to see if they can get this thing going in the right direction, because they are going to eventually get Khalil Davis and Malik Collins back, and that would be a really big boost a shot in the arm in terms of feeling good about your ability to hold up against what is going to be one of the more imposing physical fronts you're going to see all year. If they can do it against this group, they can do it basically against anybody.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is I feel like a situation like this, you almost have to take with a grain of salt, because there's a chance that we come out of this practice and it's just like, oh, the Bills are just clearly so much better than Cleveland. They dominated the practice, this, that, or the other. I mean, it could absolutely happen. This is a Super Bowl contender, and we are, in the midst of a fight for the number 1 overall pick, depending on who you talk to, So it's like I could see this not going great for the Browns, but it's not, it's not gonna deter me. It's not gonna make take any of the shine away from this young roster and the direction these guys are headed.
Right. Like, look, and the other question is, would it be the worst thing in the world for the Browns to get their ass kicked?
No,
maybe not. It might be good for them in some way. Like you don't want to get your ass kicked, but there is certainly sending the message that we need to get it going in a way. And that's not to say I don't mean that to suggest they aren't working hard or anything like that, but like showing you where the contender line is and how far you are you from it. Now, I still think, and I'm very curious to see how this goes, I think the receivers are going to kill it. I think they are going to be great in like one-on-one matchups and some of this. But like, I'm certainly hoping that at some point there's going to be 7-on-7, and I will be over watching the linemen do their thing if they do pass rush one-on-ones and all that stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities to have, even if it's the overall sense is that the Buffalo Bills are a better football team, which would shock no one, that there should be some individual spots where the Browns really do look good, and it's the places they need to look good based on what they've invested in. And then hopefully just everybody stays healthy. That's you want your guys to do well and stay healthy. That's the two biggest keys. Given what we've seen, I will be very curious to see if both Todd Monken and Joe Brady are sending the message to look at what is going on these other teams, and it just points at the Chargers and go, this 60 minutes of practice may dramatically alter their season. because of nonsense. And yes, we want to be physical. We want to, do our thing, but we also don't want to put ourselves in a position where this becomes something that actually hurts the football team. And we can't do these anymore, because the way the joint practices are going, I think they're trending in a direction where they're going to die off. And for the longest time, they've been super valuable because teams don't want to show anything in preseason. And there's been this thought, well, at some point, they'll just get rid of the preseason games, which will never happen because they're not going to give up that TV money. But like the joint practices are the wave of the future. Well, they used to do 2 days. They're getting rid of one of them because the second day was just endless fights.
Yeah.
The first day right now is still a whole lot of fights. So if they don't get this going, they're just going to eliminate it and just say, screw it. We're just not going to subject ourselves to this because it's not worth it in the long run, even if it has some real value.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, it definitely has value, but it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Because
Yes.
like you said, between the fights, between the potential injuries, and if it becomes a sloppy emotional practice, nobody's getting any good work done. And
Right.
these guys are all, it's the dog days of camp. They all wake up pissed off. They go to sleep pissed off. And the first time they see a jersey that isn't the same color, they see red. I get it. It happens every year. It happens in every camp.
Well, it happened today. They ended practice because Todd Monken was not happy with how a team period was going, how chippy and sloppy it was getting in terms of guys hitting other guys.
Yeah.
Both, in the course of a couple plays, Benton Whitley hits Schuer Sanders' arm, and then Aiden Huntington gets in the backfield. He doesn't really it's not like he fitted up and speared Quinshon Judkins, but he didn't put him on the ground.
He hit him.
But so and there comes a point where Todd Monken I think he was mad at his coaches just as much.
Yeah.
But credit to him. It's not easy to do that where you're saying this isn't productive. We got to end the practice early because it was not scheduled to end when it did. We'll see what happens if guys can get control of that. That's the other part is, how much. I don't even want to say it's respect, because on the one hand, you're doing the thing where you will have coaches tell these guys, you got to stand up for yourself, not in our house, all this other crap. At the same time, we don't want to do anything stupid. And so it's a difficult balancing act. So it will be, obviously so much of this comes down to the players and how they handle it. But as a coach in this situation, you have to be smart enough to sort of get your guys in the right mindset of, you don't want to sort of rally them on and cheer them on to do something stupid.
Yeah, agreed. And it's just, it is what it is. And I'll tell you what, I feel like it's going to happen in every camp regardless, but I feel like Jared Verse and Quincy Williams being on the same side of the ball is just going to be an absolute igniter. The lighter fluid and the lighter, just ready to go.
Well, the thing is with Quincy Williams, he's like a yappy dog. I don't know how much of that pisses guys off or if they just sort of ignore it after a while. You can't ignore Jared Verse. He is so damn loud and has so much bass in his voice. There's no getting away from it. I'm telling you, it's Alvin Mack. He just drives you insane. So that's the one I worry about. And he's not going to shut up. So I'm if they get into pass rush and all this other stuff, I will not surprise me if Jared Verse is sort of at the heart of something that goes wrong, even if he's not directly involved in the actual tussle.
Yeah, he'll be around it. There's no way he's at least not around it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anybody you think has a very, very, very important few days coming up in terms of not just their spot on the team, but whether it's a spot in the starting lineup or just a roster spot? Do you think anybody is a bad 3 days away from finding a job or finding a new job?
I don't want to put it that way, but I think Carson Ryan is being asked to do a ton.
Yeah.
He's swimming a little bit. And they did a 3rd and 4th and short period today. He got destroyed at one point by Winston Reed and had another play where he got yelled at and some other stuff. So not in the sense of he's going to lose his job. He's being counted on to do a whole lot. It's more of
he needs to turn it around.
He needs, like if he's going to prove that he can do all the things they need him to do right out of the gate, he needs to start getting better. And again, they appreciate what he's doing. Like the coaching staff is like not like down on him. He's a rookie, but he's had a rough couple days.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
So hopefully he's going to rally from that standpoint. So beyond that, it's DeJuan Jones. Got to get it going. If KT Leviston is able to practice and participate, he's got to work. Zach Zinter is back. He's one of the guys who's back Monday.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to fight to earn him to make a case that he's going to earn himself a backup guard job. That's certainly going to be important. And then we're going to be curious again, how they handle right guard is going to be interesting. Presumably Kevin Jenkins is still going to be the starter, but are they going to put Barber back in there? Are they going to say, look, this is just what we're doing right now. We want to see if you can own this job. Because if not, if that's the case, he could end up, whenever Kevin Jenkins goes down, stepping right in and being able to play that spot. So that's potentially.
I was going to say, you almost have to have not only a contingency plan, but like a backup to the contingency plan when it comes to Tevin.
Yes. So that is certainly a big piece of that. Corners. It's not even like, other than like the starters, Miles Harden, I'm sure is safe because he's basically won that job. Because he hadn't been contested at this point. Miles Bryant came back. I haven't, but we'll see if that like goes anywhere. After that, it's Michael Coates and who wants to make this team. Like it's the inverse. It's the inverse of, because I look at most of these guys and think they don't have a roster spot right now, and who's the guy who can change that and say that they're making the case they do. The other position, which is very busy right now, is tight end.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in a dude named Terry. I don't remember.
Jermaine Terry, right?
Yes, Jermaine Terry, and they brought in Daquan Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Bates was released with an injury designation. Jack Stoll has not been out there recently, so it's been Whitehart and Terry and Daquan Wright and Carson Ryan. Somebody's got to take ownership of that job or that spot or whatever. And maybe some of these guys are there. Maybe Wright and Terry are nothing more than guys who are holding a spot until Stoll comes back. But Royer has still not been there. There's no indication that he's going to be back anytime soon. So, they got to get something out of those guys and figure out that spot. So, tumultuous in the sense that, jobs could be earned or lost at that position just because it's so murky as it is. Maybe Whitehart's pretty safe, but maybe if he is, it's not because he's setting the world on fire. It's because he's basically the last.
He's in the right room, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. We saw this. I mean, and they saw this coming. They took two kids in the draft for a reason. Obviously Joe Royer is still MIA. We're still waiting to figure that out. And Carson Ryan was a 7th round pick who they've gotten 4 different spots right now, basically.
He is at inline tight end occasionally, fullback, wing, flexed out, and then on a whole lot of special teams. So he's doing everything, which is really interesting. And obviously I get why they're doing it, but it's the complete opposite way they've been operating with Emmanuel Warren, where they said, we're going to focus you on one thing and sort of build our way out. Carson Ryan has been just thrown in the pool and said, figure it out, my man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the difference between a 2nd round pick and a 7th round pick.
It is, but also
pick, it's like you figure out where you're going to contribute, and they know exactly where they need. It's also a function
of just how messy that situation is, because it's Fannin and guys.
Yeah.
And the other part of that is because the 32-year-old fullback hasn't practiced in weeks, so that's the other piece. He's the only guy they've got.
How long has he been out?
Weeks.
That's interesting. I mean, do you see any pathway for him to make this roster?
I've never seen a pathway for him to make this roster, but it's not
Even
impossible.
less now, yeah.
But like I see him working, like he's doing the rehab stuff. I have no idea where he is in terms of how quickly he's going to be back or anything like that. But they are leaning into the element if he gets to coach up Carson Ryan, which is good. You know, that's always what I thought this was going to end up being, but just wasn't sure how they'd get there. And that's sort of what this has become with him, that he's in the room with him. He's doing all this stuff. So he can help out from that standpoint.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, we got Buffalo this weekend, and then I'm trying to remember who the game in New England is the following weekend for the last game of preseason. Then is the week off in between, right? And then we got the start of the regular season. Are you of the opinion that they are hurting the team by not naming a starter at quarterback and letting everything just work and gel and get together?
No, because none of the quarterbacks are good enough to matter.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could sit here and go,
that's the truth of it.
I wish I could sit here and go, man, they are really at a disadvantage. And there's two pieces of this. One, the quarterbacks aren't good.
Yeah.
Which is one piece. And two, the receivers are good enough. They seem like they can function regardless.
Yeah.
Like, you would love this whole thing to be crisp and all this stuff, but like, you throw the ball at Denzel Boston, he catches it. You throw the ball at Casey Concepcion, he catches it. You throw the ball at Isaiah Bond, he usually catches it. Harold Fannin, like all, you know, it would be great if we could sit here and go, we know who the guy's going to be. But like, they've been good regardless. So, which gives me hope that they're going to be good regardless. And you're not getting guys who are necessarily like, they're only good because they're with this quarterback or whatever. We have not seen that in any element. Now, maybe that will change when they actually have a real quarterback. But right now, like, it looks like those guys are just good. And then if they get a quarterback, they're going to be really good.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, good news, bad news situation. It would be great if they had somebody good enough to matter at starting quarterback. And hopefully they will get there at some point with Shedeur. But like right now, it just doesn't matter.
If the season started today, are you starting Deshaun?
I have to. Like, and I hate it. But he is the best guy right now, which is really aggravating. And you know, if you're Todd Monken, you can't sit there and go, as much as you'd like to, and be like, well, this guy's we want nothing to do with him. We're going to sit him out, but he is legitimately the best guy for this team right this second, and he's going to lose credibility in the locker room if they just arbitrarily put in a weaker guy. That's going to hurt him with the rest of the locker room. So they need to right this second. They have to. I'm hoping by the end of the week, maybe that will change, but I don't see it happening right now. I think Watson's going to end up being the guy, at least for the very short term.
Yeah. That's kind of where I've kind of drifted towards, just because number one, part of it is just like self-defense, because I didn't want to see Watson anymore. And I'm trying to, do some mental gymnastics to talk myself into being accepting of such a proposition. But I genuinely think that there is some validity to the thought that, look, we've talked about it since he's arrived. Shedeur needs time. He just does. He didn't have nearly the acumen he needed when he got to the NFL. And it's been a slow process that, like, obviously, I don't know. I'm not in the room with him, but everything you hear is that he's grown by leaps and bounds in these 2 years, but he's still not there, and that's okay. If we had a veteran offensive line and a good offense, I wouldn't have a problem starting him over Deshaun, because I think the offense could support him. I don't trust this offense to support a struggling young quarterback right now. And I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get that trust. It might just be after one quarter of watching Deshaun not play well, where I'm like, F it. Let's just see what the kid has, But if you ask me, if I legitimately want to see what Shedeur Sanders can do this year, I think the best thing they can do for him is drop him into the offense after a minimum couple weeks, and just make sure that you've got everything running and you've got everybody in the positions you want them in before you can say, okay, this is good enough that we can coast him along now. We don't, we're not going to be hamstrung or screwed over if Shedeur isn't immaculate right away. I mean, but again, you nailed it. Neither quarterback or any of the four grabbing the job is a problem. And it puts them in a position where they're going to have to start somebody they don't want to start.
Yep. That's exactly what's going to happen. They are desperate for anyone else to win the job, and no one's doing it.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what kind of reception Deshaun gets if he does play in the third quarter. Because I'm sure, we talked about this earlier when he was named the starter for the opening game. You said it yourself. You're like, of course, let Shedeur start in Cleveland. You don't want him to start in Cleveland, yada, yada, yada. I'm curious as to see like how bad the reception for him is going to be, because I'm not sure it's going to be that bad. I feel like people are just like over it,
Well, if it's like training camp, it will not be good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, you were there, so obviously there was something of a funky reception there.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate part about training camp, and I do not approve of this because you guys are literally practicing, is that the way it sort of works, if you are one loudmouth, you can get your message through pretty clearly. It's not like you're trying to yell over a bunch of screaming fans. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty clear how what they're saying, and people can hear it. And likewise, the reception when Shedeur goes in is super positive with a bunch of people who love everything he does. Yeah. So you also get that contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's interesting though. That's the thing. Part of me feels genuinely bad for Deshaun. The off-field stuff is well documented, and everybody's got all sorts of opinions on that. But man, to go from like the golden child of the NFL, he was so highly thought of. Please, I remember arguing with you because before he threw like 11 miles per hour at the combine, you were all over him. You wanted him at 12. You thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. He's an A+ kid off the field, all that stuff. And to go from that to literally everybody in the fan base and the media, like everybody just looks at him a really rough way. That's got to be a really tough way to go through life.
He's got 230 million reasons to be okay.
Yeah, I know. Everybody always goes back to the money, but man, there's just some stuff that money can't buy. And I got to tell you, playing football for a fan base that boos you every chance they get, that's tough, dude. That's absolutely tough. Well, I got to tell you, Pete, it was a rough day for me, and I'm a little light on content, so I think we should probably wrap it up. Either way, we've got big practice coming up on Thursday, big game coming up on Saturday. We appreciate you guys sticking with us. We appreciate the OBR streaming network and OBR.com. And guys, this is, the season, we're on the cusp of it. So get over to the OBR.com, become an insider. Get all the insider forums with Pete and Lane and Fred Greetham. Get all the articles they pump out on a daily basis, guys. It's the best Browns website you can get to. Be sure to check it out. Thank you guys again for sticking with us, Pete. Always a pleasure. And we will catch you guys next Tuesday. Take care and go Browns.